Hello, this vid is on the arrest or hostage taking of five British people or English people from the Gulf Strait. Um, Now it appears that the Iranians may have done this legally, but there may be political reasons behind it, and I'll explain those further. Um, the yacht, it seems, has had a bad propeller and just drifted with the tide into Iraq, what Iran sees as its extended economic zone. Um, why does it have an extended economic zone beyond its internationally guaranteed 5 to 15 miles of coastal sea lanes? Well, there's oil out there which may be on the continental shelf, which Iran claims, and also it can tax uh, the heavy flow of goods and oil barges which go up through the Gulf. Uh, but there's wider geopolitical conflicts going on with Iran's neighbours. Of course, we're all familiar with Iran's involvement in Iraq, okay, where it's very clear cut. They are against America and Britain's presence in Iraq because there's a large Shia majority in Iraq over that of the Sunnis, who have traditionally been more pro-Western, despite Saddam. Also, when you look to the east of Iran, there was the Iranian involvement in Afghanistan, but then again, that was against the Taliban rather than being for the Taliban. Now, we can see in the Arabian Peninsula and Yemen another conflict brewing, and that is between Iran and its main enemy in the Middle East. Not Israel, but Saudi Arabia. Uh, the Saudis are Sunni Wahhabist Muslims, whereas the Iran an Arab, whereas Iran is an Indo-European Shia Muslim state, the only Shia Muslim state in the world. Okay, so its specific role is to promote Shia Islam. Okay, just as as Israel is a home for all Jews, Iran wants to place itself in in a similar role as the home land and champion of all Shia Muslims. That's why it supports Hezbollah in Lebanon, and it's also why it supports the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Uh, they sit on the borderland between uh, Saudi Arabia and Yemen in the mountains, and they intervened with the Yemeni civil war, which was between the north and the south, two very different cultures. Okay, now you can see the split in opinion in Yemenis society about whether they're pro Iran or whether they're pro the Sunni monarchist regime in Yemen. Um, this is also a clash between Iranian autocracy and Sunni Wahhabist neo-feudalism, okay, or old style feudalism really, as they've never been out of power. There's no democracy in Saudi Arabia, whereas Iran does have a two-tier democratic system. Um, it has a democratic secular system and then a religious system which controls the country of a powerful families. Doesn't this sound a little bit familiar to somebody from the UK? Uh, Having a democratic system and then a constitution which enshrines the role of powerful families in that system. It's basically our system, but with religion plus what 1 to 10 doesn't, times more. Okay, but Iran is of course a religious state, whereas Britain is a secular state. officially, a constitutional monarchy. A similar arrangement with the supreme religious leader of Iran. Okay, so these Houthi rebels would like independence from Yemen and Saudi Arabia. Now the Saudis don't mince their words or use PR or anything like that. They said they send one of their princes down who has no military experience at all but dresses up in a military uniform with their American-made arms, and get soundly defeated by the Houthis, who are tribesmen backed with Iranian equipment and Chinese-made and Russian-made arms, which of course is deeply embarrassing for the West. The Saudis, it must be remembered, have been constantly trained since the first Gulf War into how to use these weapons, and yet they consistently either are unable to use them or don't have the courage to fight to defend a system which many Saudis find repulsive, and yet they wouldn't live under any other system because they also find democracy repulsive. They're sort of lost. And of course, the Saudis have gone down there, and now they've used overwhelming force to overpower the Houthis, which makes things worse for the Yemenese government because now they have the Shia populace have sympathy for the Houthis, although they're of a different tribe. So whilst this is the backdrop to these hostage takings of British people, it may be that Iran is trying to prove a point that the sea lane around Saudi Arabia, of course, because Saudi Arabia is mostly a desert and with useless wastelands apart from its oil reserves, of course, which are extremely important, but are really quite close to the coast. Maybe Iran's sending a message that it can project power not only across through networks on land, but also it's maybe laying claim to the sea lanes around Saudi Arabia, by trying to provoke Britain into something. Now, of course, Britain tried to provoke Iran to do something, maybe by doing by ordering its ships to do aggressive patrols during the high point of violence during the Iraq War, because obviously if Britain had been able to convert that high point of violence with its ally the United States into a conventional war against Iran, then it would have probably got the backing of most of the Arabs, even if they were Shia, because they of course hate the Persians and the Arabs of course hate each other. But the resulting conflict didn't happen because the people who were captured, the Royal Navy personnel, kept their cool and didn't open fire on the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. Okay, but let's not get anything wrong. Iran is an aggressive is the aggressor in both counts. Okay, it probably does. It was fighting a proxy war against Britain and the United States in Iraq, and it's now fighting a proxy war against Saudi Arabia and Yemen. The question for the West is, who would it rather do business with? Neo-feudalist gangsters who are religious maniacs and who are funding Al-Qaeda from Saudi Arabia and Yemen, okay, because that's where the Bin Ladens originally come from, Yemen, and they give $43 billion a year to Al-Qaeda? Or should we switch sides and try and make a democratic secular Iran, which could possibly happen, okay, as I explained in my vid, Iranian theocracy implodes, and work with a Indo-European people, the Iranians, and try and get a moderate Islam or a secular Iran. It's not impossible, it's been there before with Mossadegh.